and welcome to Assembly Audible. I'm your host, Jennifer Pierce, multimedia editor with Assembly Magazine, and today we're recording from the 11th Annual Assembly Show in Rosemont, Illinois. Joining me today from the Community Hub on the show floor is Glenn Nausley, President of Promess. Glenn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Promess is a longtime gold sponsor of the Assembly Show.
Yeah, you said 11 years. We've been a gold sponsor since the very beginning, but man, it does not seem like 11 years. That's flown by.
Well, it's so cool to be a part of this. I'm so grateful to be here. I am also grateful for you sponsoring and supporting what we do at Assembly. It means a lot to me. So
thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate it. And I remember when I started, I kept saying this name, Promess, 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 over and over again. And I'm just like, wow, I gotta meet these people. Which brings me to another thing. I went to the keynote presentation this morning, which was fantastic. Roger Kinishnik, I think that's how you say his last name, sorry if I got that wrong, of Lear Corporation. And he actually brought up Promess and paid your company a very nice compliment. We were talking about it. He said that, do you want to take over from here and tell me what you heard?
Well, you know, it was very cool. We had dinner with Roger last night, and we were talking just business and talking about culture and stuff. And he actually, we have two Glens that work at Promess. I'm the first one, and there's a second one, and he mentioned the two Glens in his keynote address. But he had said that he was going to be, he had planned on being a little bit more analytical, but he's changed on the fly to talk more about the people side of the business.
That's right.
And about culture and things, and which was very cool and very impressive that he could change that quickly. It shows how skilled he is as a presenter to be able to do that.
He mentioned, and we'll get to the questions in just one second, but it was such a cool moment and his presentation was fantastic. But he mentioned when he was out to dinner with your team that he could tell that you were finding a way to, I don't know if the right word is blend the generation gap, but foster that as opposed to seeing it as something that, would drive people apart.
Right. Oh, one of our key aspects is to grow people and empower people and to give them, all of our employees are empowered to make the decision that's right for the customer. And so our higher level guys and our experienced guys, the old guys like me, our job is really to push that knowledge down, and my job right now is to work myself out of a job. So that's what we're working on.
Okay, well, I'm so happy to have you on the show so we can learn from your experience here today. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the features of your business. And my first question is, why would someone use a fully electric servo press versus a traditional pneumatic or hydraulic press?
The primary reason is control. It really all comes down to control. A servo press is 100% programmable. Generally, you're going to have sensors built into it. That's standard, have a load cell built into it, so you can not only have the control, the programmability, and the flexibility to tell the press what you want it to do, but it's also reporting back to you whether it did the right thing, and while it was putting the parts together, did they look like they were going together properly? If you think back in the old days where people used an arbor press, and we think of arbor press as being, the lowest tech you can have, and it really is, but one of the advantages of an arbor press is you have a person doing it, and the person can feel what he's doing. The operator's shoulder is his sensor, and if you have a craftsman putting parts together, he knows or she knows that they're making a good or bad part. When the world went to automation, that arbor press guy went away and you went to pneumatic or hydraulic. Well, now the operator or robot or whatever loads the part, the cylinder is actuated and the part is pressed, but there's no feedback to say whether it's a good or bad part. So people start putting sensors into the pneumatic and hydraulic stations, and that helped. But if you have a press, you still lack the control. So you have a sensor that tells you made a good or bad part, but you can't make any changes on the fly. Well, with a servo press, you have total control. It is the most quality way to make a part and get feedback that every part you're making is a good part. So that's the primary reason. They're also cleaner, quieter, more reliable, lower energy consumption. So there's a lot of like ancillary reasons, but for the most part, it's quality and the controllability you have and the feedback that servo presses give you.
Interesting. Okay, well, thank you so much. So, with, I guess, the new trend, I don't know if I want to say it's new, but people moving more towards automation, is it affecting or impacting your business at all, or are you seeing anything new that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this since the late 80s and early 90s,
Right.
so this isn't anything new for us. I mean, to a large extent, the industry is catching up to us because we've had the controllability and the feedback and all that for a long time, but it's starting to be utilized more and more. And the move toward automation is definitely, and the move toward electric. I mean, look at all the EVs and all the electric, everything's electric. Well, in the manufacturing industry, it's the same thing. People are moving toward electric for the same reasons you're moving toward electrics in vehicles and other aspects of our life. It's because it is more energy efficient, it's cleaner, it's quieter, it's more controllable, all the same
Right.
things. So with automation, yeah, it goes hand in hand with automation.
Okay, interesting. So what other trends are you seeing in the servo press industry?
It's, again, similar to what is going on across all of industry, data, IoT, the Industry 4.0. I mean, it's been a buzzword, Industry 4.0, for a long time.
Right.
But it's starting to come to fruition. It's actually starting to happen. It always starts at the universities and the professors, and that they come up with these ideas, and it's always the grandiose ideas, which is the way it should be. They're dreamers. They're thinking about what it should be. But really what IoT and Industry 4.0, it's starting to solidify what industry really needs. Some of the dream is going away and the realism is coming into place. And with the servo presses, that's part of the equation, because again, the data, the controllability, it's all there. So what do you do with that data? So now a lot of the work we're doing is not on more controllability for the press, because we've always done that, and we've really always done monitoring and produced data, but now new ways of what you do with the data. That's one of the big trends. The other trend is part of this, again, the IoT side of it is remote service and remote support, and people being able to check on their presses. They're 1,000 miles away, but they can look on their phone and see how their production's going.
That's wild.
Yeah, and today's technology is growing so fast. I think about the poor guy on second or third shift, and the machine goes down, there's some kind of problem, and he goes to work on this machine, and there's all this technology, and second and third shift, where does he go for support?
True.
But now with the IoT, with remote service, things like that, that guy can connect in and always get help.
There's access points.
Yeah, it's the access points, and it's the technology that is being really pushed right now, and really what we're growing is less on the process side. We're still doing a lot of that, but it's more on the support, the implementation, and using the power and data that you have.
Interesting. So looking into the future, are there any new and exciting things coming? I sure hope so.
Yeah, it's, we're a bunch of dreamers when it comes to that also.
Same.
And you hear, people are talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and there's all these kind of things. If you look at, on the press side, we're working on algorithms where the press can program itself. We're working on algorithms where the press will be making adjustments on the fly, or maybe over multiple parts, and learning how to make a better part. And so that the press will be telling you what it needs to do to make a better part every time. If there's changes in lots, you get a new batch of parts in, the press can recognize that and make adjustments to compensate, within reason, for changes in the batch of parts. So a lot of it is the IoT stuff, and the artificial intelligence stuff, and the machine learning. We worked on a process recently in straightening parts, and the machine is learning from the operator how to straighten parts. So in the beginning, the operator's telling the machine what to do, but the operator, because in the past when they straighten these parts, it was manually done. Now we've given the operator a new tool that he can use to straighten these parts, but he's telling the machine what needs to be done to straighten the part out of his experience, but the machine is learning what he's telling it, and every part that's a little bit different, it's remembering what the operator told them to do, and then the next time it sees that part, the operator doesn't have to tell them.
Wow, that's really interesting. So the AI came up on a podcast I recorded earlier, so it's not just a buzzword then, you're using it currently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have you been though? Because I think people seem to think AI is new, at least in consumer markets, but it's not really new, is it?
No, it's not. And we were using it would be more machine learning than AI, but we were using a very fundamental method of machine learning back 20 years ago, having machines learn limits and learn tolerances that are run over a long period of time. A lot of times in monitoring, when you're monitoring how a part goes together and the quality of a part, and you get a certain reading off of your force sensor, you may have some data on a spreadsheet or on a part print that says this part needs to go in with between 100 and 500 pounds. But as the machine learns what parts really take to be put together, the press can warn you that, hey, this is still within your tolerance, but it's changing from what I normally see. And so it teaches itself what it normally sees, and then it looks for a little change. So that's a very basic thing that we've been doing for forever. But now you take that to a new extreme, that it not only is telling you, hey, it's changed, but it makes adjustments on its own. And it learns what adjustments you tell it to make when that happens, and then it starts making it. You don't have to program it in. It learns it.
That's neat.
And yeah, so and those are pretty basic things, but then those are building blocks. You build from there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fascinating.
Yep.
Very cool.
And eventually, our goal is that the automation can teach itself and basically program itself. You can almost just tell it what you want it to do,
wow,
and it'll teach itself to do it. And in some areas, we're already doing that.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So how can someone go about learning if Servo Press technology is right for their application?
The biggest thing is, don't go about it like it's a catalog sale. There's a lot of options.
To assembly shows,
yeah,
right?
exactly. That is one of the things. Come to the assembly show. It's talk to an expert. Talk to a press expert, because it's not. In the old days, you'd buy an air cylinder, you buy a hydraulic cylinder, and you weren't thinking about data. You weren't thinking about controllability and what do I need to do. But these systems are so powerful now that there's a lot of different options. And if you talk to an expert that can explain your application, that expert can give you basically a lot of advice on what direction you should go. At Promess, we have what we call our process development center, and it's part of our proven process. It's not 100% of the time, but a large percentage of our sales, our customers will supply tooling and fixturing and parts. Most of the time that they visit Promess in Brighton, Michigan, and visit our process development center, and Promess will supply the machine and an engineer for free, and we will run your parts. We'll test it, and we'll develop a process on our floor before you buy anything, just so you know you're buying the right thing.
That's great.
Yeah, it
seems really important too in this industry. I mean, it's not like we're talking about a household item,
right,
or something that you're purchasing to use once.
You're talking about a major investment.
Right.
And buying a piece of equipment like that without test driving it is like buying a vehicle without test driving it. I know a lot of things are bought over the web now, but there's certain things I want to see, touch, feel, drive, use before
Absolutely.
I buy. And basically, that is one of the things we really push. And for Promess, it's a key part of our sales process. It saves us and the customer, because we don't sell something that we find out later was the wrong thing, and our customers don't buy something they find out later was the wrong thing. So that's kind of our way of doing it. That's the I don't want to say the extreme, because it's not. It's kind of our standard. But if that's not possible, at least talk to an expert who can recommend and steer you in the right direction.
Pay proper attention to those details, basically.
This is a piece of equipment. We have applications that we've sold customers 15, 20 years ago. And so this is a piece of equipment you're going to have to live with for a long time. And you want to make sure you're buying the right piece of equipment, that it's going to do the process like you want it to be done, that it's maintainable, your guys understand it, and so on. So it's not something that you want to buy from a catalog. Ultimately, I think the biggest thing is work with a professional, whether it's Promess or somebody else.
Well, and going back to how awesome Promess is, I would like to give a shout out to one of your employees who's also my friend, Lauren Rawl.
Oh, Lauren. Sure.
Yes, she's wonderful, and she's the co-host. You have a podcast as well, right?
Yep,
she's the co-host of your podcast called Manufacturing Unscripted, and we launched the Assembly Show South this year, and she was just so wonderful. She's been wonderful to work with since I started, but we really bonded during that show, and she was just, game to hop on a podcast and very supportive. And I'm bummed she's not here this year, but she is a testament to the people at Promess really are great.
Yeah, Lauren is great.
She's a keeper for sure.
She absolutely is. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for your time today.
You.
I really appreciate it. And once again, thank you for sponsoring the show and so many of our endeavors.
Yep. Happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Assembly Audible. We invite you to join us for one or both of our 2 shows next year, the Assembly Show South in Nashville and the Assembly Show back in Rosemont in October. I'm Jennifer Pierce, signing off. This has been Assembly Audible. Thanks for listening.